Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest, Erica Ito. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, this University of Michigan grad from Oahu, Hawaii, is actually the co-host of her own podcast called Seaweed Brain, where she talks all about Percy Jackson. She is also currently on the national tour of Wicked, where she plays Nessarose. Please welcome Erica Ito. How are you? It's so good to have you on my little theater interview show this morning or this afternoon. What time is it?
It's the morning. It's noon, so it's like the morning in Tourland.
Yeah, it's like, well, kind of for me. Like I'm a late nighter, so I guess.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. This is Friday morning, Friday
yeah.
noon, and Thursday nights we play a D&D game on the road. So we're
Ooh.
up we play like after the show, so we're up really late. So I like literally just roll out of bed.
Oh my God. That's so fun though. Like
It's so fun.
cast bonding.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it's been a huge year for you with this tour. How has that been and like the adjustment to everything going on?
Oh, I mean, I still feel like we're new. I say we because our entire principal
Yeah.
cast went into Wicked at the same time in May. It still feels like we're new to it, but at the same time, we're like almost halfway through our contract. So I think we've mostly adjusted to life on the road for those of us who this is our first tour. It was hard at first when I found out I had to leave the city and like pack up everything in my life in like 2 weeks. But I'm lucky I had a very helpful roommate and a lot of helpful friends who helped me out to get my affairs in order so I could leave on time.
Oh my gosh, and it's such a huge first tour to be on. So
Yeah.
like wow, and of course I'm gonna you get more into Wicked later. But I want to go back to like the beginning of your journey. Have you always known that you wanted to be a theater performer? And when was the moment you realized?
I always wanted to be an actor when I was a little kid. I didn't have very many hobbies as a child. I did not play sports. I didn't even do like I quit ballet after like 1 year when I was in preschool. I quit all of that. Um I didn't do many things. I just watched a lot of TV and SpongeBob and would like read books kind of. I got really into like the Percy Jackson, the Harry Potters as a kid and I just loved the idea of all of the magical worlds and stuff. And I think that my brain at a young age connected that, oh, like the closest you can get to like living in those fantasy worlds is by like doing the acting, like being in the movies and being in the shows that allow you to experience that and to like some degree. I think I did like an after school drama class in 5th grade and like the summer between 5th grade and 6th grade. And that was just the most fun I ever had. And I was like, okay, I think I'll do this. Like I didn't have a thing as a kid. So I was like, I guess this will be my thing. And then I had to get back into ballet and tap and go back to all those things that I wasn't initially very excited about. So yeah, from a young age, I was like, oh, I just want to do this like play pretend thing. Um, but I think a lot about Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia. When she sings The Winner Takes It All and she like runs up the stairs, to the chapel with the red scarf flailing behind her. That
Icon.
was like, yeah, that was one of my early things that I saw. And I was like, I don't know, whatever that is. I want to do that. I want to do
Oh,
that thing.
her.
Yeah, I want to be her.
That's who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, I want to be mysteriously singing to the man who might be the father of my child about
Ooh,
how life just didn't work out that way and running into the sunset.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And okay, so you mentioned Harry Potter, so I have to ask, have you also been crying all morning about Mag?
Oh, I did see that. I think I saw that before I went to bed last night because we got back so late.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't have been able to sleep because I've been on TikTok all morning looking up videos of.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, devastated this morning. I was like,
Yeah.
no, that can't happen. She's supposed to live forever. So,
Yeah.
what was the first theater show you ever saw?
Like professional, like Broadway.
It could like regional or Broadway.
I saw the tour of Lion King when it came
Oh,
to Honolulu when I was a kid. I don't remember if I was like somewhere between around like 6, 7, 8. years old. It was for my birthday. I got the tickets like as a birthday present for my parents. And that was my first like equity, you know, theater production. And I don't remember much about it, but I remember I was like, it was such a special thing to get to go to see a show because one, obviously it was expensive, and two,
Yes.
at that time shows didn't tour to Honolulu very frequently. We would get one every like several years.
That's
So it was a really big deal.
that's so unfortunate because I'm sure tour casts would have like loved at the time to come there too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun for the people who get to go. It's obviously really expensive to send everything
It,
to
yeah.
Hawaii. But now they bring like three
Well,
shows a year.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there slowly,
Yeah.
steadily. I think Lion King was also the first show I saw, and I don't remember anything about it, but it was
Yeah.
like the tour cast, and it was just magical.
I got to see it again when I was in college and I was interning in New York. I got to go see Lion King and I was like, "Oh my God.
You,
It has always been this good."
you know,
It's so mesmerizing.
oh my gosh. And when like they all like walk through the aisles, it just like really brings you in and you feel like you're like part of the show.
I love a good old-fashioned walk through the aisles.
Oh my gosh, same. Well, cats kind of scared me. I don't know.
The one that I will never forget is the Green Goblin walking through the aisles in Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Oh my God.
Scared the poo-poo out of me.
I mean, if it was like William Dafoe, I'd be like, okay,
The like prosthetics and everything were just so good. I was so scared as a child.
oh, that sounds horrifying. So, what was the first like show when you like when you started interning in New York, what was the first show that you saw there?
So I did an internship in college. I went to New York when I was like in between sixth grade and seventh grade,
Okay.
because we did like a school trip. It was they had just started doing a direct flight on Hawaiian Airlines from JFK to Honolulu, and back and forth. And so we did a trip with like 20 something middle schoolers and two teachers. They took us all the way to New York for like 10 days. I still cannot believe
What?
I still cannot believe um the amount of energy it takes to keep track of that many kids is it's in a New York City, unbelievable. But it was the first time they had ever did this school trip. It was like a test, to see like, oh, can we successfully do this? And it was called Broadway Bound. It was themed to be like a Broadway trip. And we saw like 10 shows in 10 days. And we did all these classes at like Broadway Dance Center. Like I remember being like 10 or 11 and putting on like my terrible ballet shoes and walking into like a beginner ballet class at the Broadway Dance Center with like actual New York professionals who were just trying to take a class and just terrorizing them by like doing terrible across the floors and like laughing with my friends. But that's that's part of life. It's a canon event. You
No,
have to do
that's
that.
awesome. The energy
Yeah.
is so fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I still feel embarrassed, I think, to this day about that because I was like, I can't dance. I can't do this. But then we also had like the two boys on the trip who like really couldn't dance there. So I was like, okay, it's fine. So I'm not the worst person in the room. I'm not bringing shame upon the community. But that was yeah, that was a long time ago. I was a kid, and I think the very first show we saw on that trip was Memphis. So my first Broadway show was
Oh,
technically Memphis. And there was
dang.
like a technical problem halfway through the show, I remember. So we had to like stop in the middle of act 1 or act 2 and just kind of sit there for 30 minutes. Um
That
I was like, "Oh, live theater. How exciting."
that actually happened to me last time I saw The Lion King on Broadway.
They had a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
It's so stressful.
And I'm like, it was like 10 minutes into the show. I'm like, this still happens, even though they've been running for so long. Like
Oh yeah.
that's kind of iconic of them to still like be figuring things out.
If anything, I feel like it happens more because stuff starts to break down, like
Yeah, they're like, oh well, time to revamp this this set piece.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got to fix the automation or whatever.
That's been working for the last like 20 years. Oh my gosh. Did you see Wicked on that trip?
I did. I did see Wicked on that trip. That
Oh,
was my first time seeing Wicked.
do you
Um,
remember who was in that cast?
oh, I should look it up because I have a picture of all of us with the woman who I remember was playing Elphaba, but I haven't like researched the year to like figure out exactly who it was.
Oh,
I should
do you
figure it
have
out.
like the playbill like Like anywhere.
I
It's still
definitely
like,
have the playbill like at home in
yeah.
my childhood bedroom. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's, I mean, a full circle moment to get to go with
Yeah.
your class to see Wicked. And then
Yes.
I'm kind of jealous of that trip. Like,
Oh my God, it was so fun. It was so fun. Like, if that, if I hadn't already been enamored with Meryl Streep and Mamma Mia, like that trip was so solidifying. I mean, I love theater people because we'll be like, oh yeah, when I was 7, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And everyone's just like, yeah, me too. But like I literally like at 10 years old, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm moving to New York. I'm gonna do this thing. I'll see you guys later. Like I'm not leaving, I'm staying here. I told my teacher, Mr. Roberts, to tell my parents I wasn't coming back. And he loves to tell that story because now they do this school trip every few years. And it's a great anecdote to like sell the parents on letting their kids do this trip. Like, oh, our very first time, like Erica, who now does theater, was like, I'm never going back. And that teacher who took us on that trip, he actually came to Denver to see Wicked like a month ago, which was really special.
oh my gosh, I love moments like
I
that.
know. I was literally like, I didn't even know what to say. I was just like so grateful and emotional the whole time that he was there and did like a backstage tour for his whole family. It was great.
I know people listening are going to be like now looking up schools that take trips to New York every year, like high schools. They're
I
going to be like,
know.
my high school doesn't do that. Which high school can I transfer to?
I know, and we're literally as far away as you could possibly be in the United States in order to
And
do something like that. And I'm so grateful that A, that they decided to do something nuts like taking 20 kids to New York from Honolulu, and B, that my parents were like, oh yeah, Erica doesn't really have a thing yet. Maybe this will be her thing. Let's support her in her interest. Oh yeah.
well, I love your also bio on your website because it says that you asked to go to LA and your
That's the
parents.
other story. That's the other, yeah, childhood anecdote. I was so, like I said, with the whole like fantasy thing, I was so into the Hunger Games. That was like the right time for me, like I was the right age for Hunger Games standum. I don't know how old you are, Becca, but I was exactly the Hunger Games age. And um I
That's
loved
my
Jennifer Lawrence because she like, this is gonna sound so nuts probably to people who are younger than us, but like Jennifer Lawrence is like a normal sized actor,
yeah.
like doing a movie for like aimed at teenagers. And like she's just a normal sized person. Like, but she wasn't like so skinny that it made me like scared for her to be running around the woods. You know what I mean? And not that there's anything wrong with being a skinny action hero, but I just saw her and was like, oh my gosh, like I'm obsessed with her. She's like a normal girl with brown hair. Like I could do that. Um, and I love the Hunger Games so much. And she was just such a great actor. Like every time I go back and watch the Hunger Games, I'm like, Jennifer Lawrence, she was so young when she did these movies, and she's just so good in them. And she barely has any lines, but she's just like telling this whole story with her face. And it's a very inspirational story for girls. There's so much I could talk about the Hunger Games for 8 hours, but yeah, I was like researching so much about Jennifer Lawrence, and I was like, you guys, like her family moved her to a bigger city when she was young so that she could pursue acting. Like I think we should do that. Like we could go to LA for pilot season. My parents were like, well, literally, what are you talking about? Stay in school. That's not happening.
No.
Yeah.
It makes me it I'm I'm glad you recognize like her being such an extraordinary actress because it makes me mad that movies like that, to nerd out, that movies like that don't get appreciated like when it comes time for Academy Award season because they're
Uh,
like the series, the like based on book series, and no one ever gets nominated from those movies.
Catching Fire is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh no, agreed, agreed. And like that, her acting in it is like some of the greatest acting you'll ever see on screen.
And Katniss is such a
Honestly.
complicated character. Like, oh, she has to go through so much.
So what I'm hearing is that when there's a Hunger Games musical, that you're gonna be in it as Katniss.
There's like a theatrical piece in development, I believe, in the West End, like in the UK, they're doing one. Um, I remember texting my agent and being like, "Did you hear about this? Did you hear?" And she was like, "Yes, Erica, this is my job. Like, if anything becomes available, we'll let you know." I was like, "Okay," because I'm really passionate about this.
like get signing up for the emails.
Yeah. Well, they keep, and you know, if Suzanne Collins is going to continue writing books, which it appears that she is, and they're going to
Yeah.
continue doing movies, I was like, oh, well, eventually, maybe eventually. Like
Well,
Star Wars, like if they keep doing it, eventually, it's got to work out.
manifesting
Yeah.
for you because I think
Thank
that'd
you.
be perfect. So I want to ask, you went how well, first of all, how did you become a well-rounded performer growing up? Because you went to University of Michigan, which is such a good theater program. And I imagine super hard to get in.
Well-rounded. Oh, as I said, I was not passionate about dancing as a child. So I had to get back into dancing after I decided that I was going to do theater. I still am shocked at how much conviction we have at such a young age deciding to do this. Like, oh yeah, I just have to, in
At the
order to make my dream come true, I have to go back into ballet class. I'm 12. I guess I'll just do that. Um, even though I really didn't want to. So I got back into dance, you know, after that big trip to New York. Um,
inspired.
being embarrassed at the Broadway Dance Center. I was like, oh God, I gotta go ballet. Um, so yeah, I had a great dance teacher though growing up who was like in my neighborhood, and she knew that I was never going to be a professional dancer. I just needed to get good technique so that it could support me in other things. And she was always very supportive of me and knew how to like like critique me hard so I would get better, but not so hard that I would quit dancing because it wasn't my biggest passion in life. Um, her name is Barbara Jean Van Scoy. She's iconic. If anyone is listening to this, you could look her up. She's really cool. Um, and then yeah, so I did dance and I got really into tap, as many people do,
Yeah,
right? As many people who are like not,
theater.
yeah, musical theater people who are like not the most talented technical dancers can get really into tap because the technique is so different. I had a lot of really, really great tap teachers in Honolulu. Uh, we had like tap company where we would all get together. There was like multiple levels to our tap company. So like every few years you could like go up a level in tap company. And it was just like running around on a Saturday morning, like learning like 42nd Street or like anything goes choreography and
That's
doing these
so
big group
fun.
numbers. It was so fun. So I'm lucky I just had a lot of different teachers who were available and who encouraged me to do my best in all of these things, even though they knew I wasn't going to go to the Joffrey Ballet or anything like that. I think I started voice lessons in like 8th grade. And
Oh.
again, I think my parents were just so excited that I finally had a thing that I was passionate about that they wanted to help me do that. And I come from a family where the arts are very appreciated, but nobody has ever pursued them before, you know? And so like both my
Fair.
grandmas are piano teachers, and yeah, they were like they were both teachers when my grandma taught in like, you know, like the public school system in Hawaii as a music teacher, and the other one was just like a piano teacher, and they both played at church, you know, and like all that stuff. So my parents are like huge music appreciators and they like to go to karaoke and sing in their free time. Um, but I think everyone in my family was like, oh my God, wait, we can like have one who can like really go and do the thing. That would be so
You can do
exciting.
it
Yeah. So they supported me.
professionally.
Yeah. So they drove me wherever I needed to be driven as a kid and after school and all the programs. And yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's and like was it easy to find things in Hawaii or was it like kind of difficult and there was like was there one place and did it kind of make like the theater community easier to keep up with there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of feel like because there was only like one option for everything, that made it easy in a sense. Like you want to do a tap class, you got to go see Karen Yee, like period. That's where you go, you know? And
You
there
know
were
every
like yeah, there's a big dance community in Hawaii. But as far as like theater, like, you know, it's a small place. There's like
yes.
a handful of community theaters. Like one really big one called Diamond Head that's been going for years and years and years and years. Like Bette Midler performed at Diamond Head when she lived in Hawaii, you know,
Oh
as a youth.
my gosh.
Yeah, I know, right? Wild.
Wait,
So
that's iconic.
yeah, so that like that kind of like community theater scene is very tight knit. And like all the adults who do theater, you know, kind of just like flip between these like different handful of community theaters. And as kids, like you can take some of them have classes for kids. And so you kind of know that's where you have to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very tight knit. Obviously, I would say it's giving drama. It's giving small town competition, totally as any place would. But it's a really, yeah, small community.
But I feel like when you look at it, like the Broadway community and theater community worldwide is even like tight knit and
Oh yeah,
with everyone, which is really cool.
yeah. We at one time, I think this was last year, last summer or fall, I did a reading um for a new play that was written by somebody from Honolulu.
Oh,
And I knew that they were just looking for people who were like either from Hawaii or like AAPI heritage. And I was like, I bet I'm gonna know most of the people in this room when we got to that reading. And I did know most of the people. And like many of them went to my high school. And like maybe we'd never met, but I knew of them, or like they were in the same class as one of my older sisters or something like that. And that
oh,
is like how small that community is.
oh my gosh, I love that so much about theater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, how did you land on University of Michigan? Because first of all, Michigan is completely different than Hawaii, as you mentioned in your bio on your website.
Yeah. It's far. I always kind of wonder. I don't know how I exactly figured out that that was a place I should go, but there were two girls above me in high school. One like I don't know, like 5 years above me, and one like a few years above her, who had gone to the University of Michigan musical theater program. And because they existed, and obviously like one of them was my like TA in summer school when I was in middle school for like my theater class, so I knew her through that. Um, because how like the older kids in high school or like in college will come back and TA for like
Yeah.
the younger kids. That's sort of what happened. And then the other one was like she played the witch in Into the Woods when I was in middle school and she was in high school.
You were like role model.
And I was like, once again, iconic Meryl Streep role that, yeah, changed my life. And she was totally my role model. And they had gone to Michigan. And so I knew that that existed, like just from like following them on Instagram. Um, yeah. And I don't know. I was like, okay, cool. I could do that. That's the only thing I heard of. So I could do that. So I just kind of kept that in mind and I applied to a pre-college program uh after junior year. Some colleges have those.
So smart.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of colleges have
Brilliant.
them now. Um, applied to pre-college program. I don't even know if I needed to like do a self-tape for that. I think it was mostly like a written application. I was like, oh, written application, like I got this. Like, well, here's everything I'm passionate about. Well, Meryl Streep. Blah, blah. And and I got in, and I was like, okay, great. This is like that was a huge shot in the dark. But that was one of the many ways I got lucky in a row, and I got to go and do that program, which is like 3 weeks, and you like couldn't have a cell phone. It was awesome. They took away our phones, um, which was just we had to like use like an actual landline if we wanted to call our parents like in the dorm. We stayed on campus. We got to take class with lots of faculty members who teach at the school, and then also like alumni who would come back to teach during the summer. Um, and the guy who at that time who was running Impulse was the man who founded the musical theater program. His name is Brent Wagner. He is literally iconic, all capital letters, like exclamation point, exclamation point. He's my hero. He is the smartest man I know, and he is like responsible for so many good things in my life. And the first one was admitting me into Impulse. And he no longer teaches. He finally like officially retired this year. But he does like musical theater history and like all of this kind of stuff. And we got to do a lot of um like the culture and the history of theater in addition to like singing and doing the performance of it, which I really, really, really loved during that pre-college program. And so I was like, okay, if I can get in, this is probably where I'm going to go. So I learned a little bit more from going to that program about what the other options were and like, and what college auditions really looked like. And so from there, I was like, okay, this is now I kind of understand like the path of what I have to undergo in order to achieve that BFA thing.
Oh my God. When you got into Michigan, did you realize how good of a program it was at the time? Getting
Yeah. At that point, I knew. At that point, I was fully aware. I was like, like, I don't know if the kids still. I really bet that this isn't like not a thing anymore. But like the green room on Facebook, Have you ever heard of this?
Wait, no.
Okay. The green room. I don't know what the similar thing is now, but like when you were auditioning for colleges, you like wanted information, or you wanted to be like,
You go in
hey,
there.
has anyone heard back from this school yet? Or, like, does anyone have any recommendations for like helping me like zhuzh up my 32 bar cut for Carnegie Mellon? You would be on the Green Room Facebook group. It was called the Green Room. And um this is just where, and then like when people would get accepted or from schools, they would post and they would be like, hey guys, just got accepted to Ball State University, so if you're on the wait list, like, uh-oh, those spots are filling up. It was it This is culture. It was wild. This Facebook page was wild, but because of things like that, like I was tuned in. I was fully like, I was in the green room, like I was aware of the happenings.
The
I
competitive.
knew the competitiveness. Yeah. And also when you go to a pre-college program like that, they really sell you on the school, and they kind of throw some statistics at you, and they're like,
Oh yeah.
0.001% of people get into this program or whatever. I don't know. I made that up, but you know what I mean?
Yes. And then you're like, oh God, thanks for
Yeah.
striking me out with that number.
Yes. Yeah. So I knew it was a big deal. And they call you on the phone, Dean Laura Hoffman, who also recently passed away. She's incredible. She was like head of admissions for people getting into the musical theater program. She would call you personally on her phone and say like, hey, and you would see that like Ann Arbor area code. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember I knew that calls were going out on this like one day in like April or whatever, my senior year of high school. And because like of impulse, like people were messaging, like a couple of people had gotten in, and like people were talking on the green room on Facebook or whatever. And I was like, oh God, I didn't get a call. It's like 4 p.m. Hawaii time, late at night on the mainland. Like it's not happening, you know, and that's okay. And I was like, call my like, and then at like 4:30 p.m. I got the phone call, and I was like, oh my God. And Dean Hoffman was like, yeah, well, I wanted to wait until you were out of class.
Oh. So
Yeah.
hey, knew your schedule.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
knew at that point.
So what was the most valuable lesson that you learned at University of Michigan that kind of helped you to prepare for the huge tour you're on right now? And what was your favorite
Oh,
show you did at Michigan?
show and lesson. Once again, this could turn into an entire podcast of me proselytizing about Brent Wagner. He's my hero. He's taught me everything. I'll cite like a Brent Wagner goodie, because there's so many. Um, there's so many good ones, but something that pertains particularly to tour. Um, Wagner would love to talk about gratitude. Which when I think back to like teaching a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds, this is so important because we're like, our frontal lobes aren't developed yet. Like you need to really get to the basics. But I remember being like, this is really like simple. Like, but now I'm like, no, he needed to teach us this at this young age. Like you have to express gratitude when you feel it, and you have to express it specifically, like to the people you are grateful for and for the opportunities you are grateful for. Because like the most limited resource we have in our lives and the most precious thing we can give to people is our time. And so if someone is giving you their time, you have to tell them that you're grateful for it. Like, sure, it's a good practice as far as like the business goes to like keep connections positive and like make sure like you have your ducks in a row and everything, and you're always being a nice person to work with. But like truly just like at the bottom of your soul, like if you feel grateful, you should tell that person, and you should tell them specifically what you appreciate, because they should hear it, and you should practice that, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, you should go through the practice of expressing your gratitude. So I have so many wonderful people here on tour, and I didn't know what it would be like. Yeah, because this is my
Oh,
first time on tour, and I didn't know what these people would be like. You know, I've always been intimidated by dancers my whole life. I was like, what if the dancers are scary? Because they're so talented. I could never, you know, I'm like, to me, like dancers are like the most popular girls in school vibe.
my
Because I'm
God.
just like, I cannot live up to you. But I didn't know what any of this would be like. And there's so many people out here who are just so wonderful in the cast and the crew who play in the pit, who travel with us, like our advanced crew who comes sometimes. We see them at the start of the cities, and like, you know, all these people who help make this not just a good job, but like a good place to live, you know,
Yes.
because you're living with these people.
In
Your
different
whole life is this
ways.
tour. Yeah. I feel like so lucky to have people who I really connect with here and who have made this contract such a positive experience. And we've had like a string of birthdays the past couple weeks. And I was just thinking about how like everyone really, we go in very hard for birthdays on the road. Like I've never gone so hard in for gift giving before for so many people's birthdays, but it's just such an important
Yeah.
thing to do to like help make the road feel like home and to like practice expressing your love for somebody. And that's been wonderful. Like I'm gonna shout out Austin Danielle Bomer, who plays our Glinda.
Yeah.
It was her birthday a couple weeks ago, and on her birthday we got to the theater, or like a couple days before her birthday, and there was a note on every single person's desk. She had written us cards on her birthday, every
Stop.
single person. Yes, I know, right? She
I,
wrote cards for us. And she was like, my birthday is coming up and I've been reflecting, and like these are these amazing qualities about you that I appreciate having in my life for every person. And I was like,
I feel like that's
so
such a
wonderful.
second act Glinda thing to do.
Yeah, Austin has all the positive qualities of Glinda and none of the negative.
That just feels like such a second act Glinda. Like when she's like been like, oh, okay. So I gotta like appreciate everyone around me more in the second act.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
oh my God, that's so cute.
Yeah.
What was your favorite show that you've done at Michigan or
Right.
regionally?
Favorite Michigan, I had so many like I did a lot of okay, COVID was during my junior year of college.
Oh,
So that
I'm
whole
so
experience,
sorry.
yeah, that was a unique experience. I did do a Shakespeare play masked and
Ooh,
12 feet apart from people senior year, which was a wild
oh,
time. But I got to do The Wolves my freshman year, which was so fun. It was a student theater production. So, you know, like a senior directing major was directing it. And it was just like, you know, I got to like do the show with like people outside of the MT department because it was just whoever had auditioned. And I had a really great time. I've I would love to just do plays for the rest of my career, but plays don't really get produced as much, blah blah blah. But anyway, it was really great to get to do a play with a bunch of other people who I didn't know yet and like get to bond with them and learn how to kick a soccer ball around and just put on this very, you know, The Wolves is a great play. Everyone who does The Wolves, I think, has like a very life-changing experience putting it together because women. Um, you know,
because women.
there's a Ronan, women. Um, and I also got to do Merrily We Roll Along. Also, we did a student production of it, and that's my favorite musical.
Yes.
Um, I did it in high school for my like senior project in high school. We like put a production on with our friends and like our black box, and so I got to do it again in college, and it was a magnificent experience, you know, because it was also my like the little like org that I was a producer for in college was putting it on, so we were all like working on it from every side. You know, we were like, where's the funding going to come from to pay the orchestra? And like, how many people do we actually need? And like, da, 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 but also like
All of
learning our
it.
lines and talking about the material and talking about Sondheim. Um, so that was great.
Oh my God, I feel like Sondheim work, it's so genius, and it's also like the some of the hardest work that you can do on stage because it's
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
great. It was just great to like dive into the music with my peers and like, I trying to, yeah, like we were music directing it. Like
Oh
my
my,
friend who's a year above me was our music director, you know, like it was fun.
getting all the experience like packed in
Yeah.
the one show.
Yeah. And that's something they say a lot in like musical theater college, or I'm sure they say it in any
And
program in college, if you're a business major or what, but like these are the people who you're going to be in the industry with.
yeah,
Like this is just a little microcosm experience for you to practice what it's like, because like
with
this
people.
is who your people are for the rest of your career. And so it was great to just kind of work together in that way and put this thing on. And like our my great friend Wilson Plonk, who was playing our Charlie, he ended up losing his voice really badly during our like one weekend production. But we had this whole thing going and we had like sold tickets to like the second biggest theater on campus. So we had to do the show. So our other producer, Thomas Lob, who's still a producer for theater, like got on a microphone and like did all of the lines for Wilson while Wilson was on stage. He was like off stage singing and doing all of the words. It was such a
Okay.
wild experience, but we made it work. And
Oh
that's all the
my God.
fun part. Yeah.
Did you get to see the revival on Broadway?
Oh yeah, I dropped cash money on seeing
Yeah.
that revival, and I had some friends in it, so I really was like, I think I got house seats the second time around to see it, which are like, really expensive. But I was like, I just this means
It's
so
my
much to
money.
me. Yeah, I think my mom came to town, and my mom knows a lot about the show because I had done it in high school, and then she came to see it again when I was in college, and so I was like, let me just splurge and like treat my mom to like these house seats, and like it was the best. And like obviously, being a Harry Potter child, I had to
Yeah.
see Daniel Radcliffe do Franklin Shepherd Inc. And I loved it so much.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. He was so he
It was
was
great.
adorable.
He was so perfect. The cast, whole company was perfect. I got to see an understudy go on for one performance and it was just as great. Like they really found like chemistry and it was beautiful. And I also freshman year at Michigan, you do this big thing called a production project where you get assigned a musical and you have to do a huge report on it and answer like all of these questions. You need to like find out what the ticket prices were like when it was first on Broadway. Like every subsequent revival, you have to do like a dream casting for a new revival. And at the
Oh,
time, I think I cast Lindsay Mendez and Jonathan Groff in my like dream revival. Never in my wildest dreams would I have conceived of Daniel Radcliffe. But I know so much about the show. So getting to see like a commercially successful production of it hit Broadway, like I bought a sweatshirt, it was like, this
so
is
you
history.
you basically cast the show.
Oh
Minus,
yeah, totally. Right.
yeah, basically the
Totally.
casting director is what I'm hearing of the show. Wait, which understudy did you see on? I have to ask.
Oh my goodness. I would have to look up her name. I was just so, starstruck and enamored and did not memorize the playbill, but it was one of Lindsay's understudies and she was amazing. Amazing.
Gosh, love. I heard that Lindsay's understudies were great. So, um,
Yes.
so
Yeah. Seriously.
I want to get into Wicked. What was your audition process like for Wicked on tour where you currently play Nessarose?
Yes. I auditioned first time for Wicked kind of like within a year out of school. I was an intern for Telsey in college.
Oh,
So Telsey is the casting office that casts Wicked and lots of other many, many, many shows. They're a very big office and they also do TV and commercials and movies. So I sort of got to know Craig Burns, who's the casting director for Wicked, when I was younger at Telsey. And one of my big jobs when I was an intern was being an audition reader. I was like one of the few interns who was in like a performance program. So they're like, oh yeah, Erica, wouldn't it be so fun for you to like read for auditions? And I was like, yeah, it would. So I read for like a lot of like Mean Girls at the time and Frozen and My Fair Lady that was doing a tour and all that stuff. So I kind of got to
you know
know
all the
like the
lines.
creative team a little bit, watched them do the auditions for Wicked a lot. When I was in college, I auditioned for the first time year out of college for the Broadway company. I got a callback, worst callback of my freaking life. I had just had COVID. I could not sing. I was so nervous because to me, booking Nessa felt like something that I could do right out of school. And so I felt this pressure. I was like, I gotta get it.
You're like,
Like
I need
my
it.
voice teacher was like, you're gonna book this. Like, this is it. Like, you're gonna make your Broadway debut, like less than a year out of school. And I was just like so nervous and it was awful. It was terrible. I did a terrible job and they were all really supportive, but it was bad. Like
But you
everyone in
got
the
a
room was
callback.
really supportive.
But
It
you
was
got
at
a
the
callback.
callback. It was the callback. that was really bad. But anyway, I was like cried myself to
Got it.
sleep for a week and I
Good
was like,
callback.
I'm gonna quit.
Like that I mean, I think that's something to be proud of is getting that callback though.
Sure. Yes. Yes, that is true. You have to take the little wins. But
Yeah.
I remember I was just so disappointed because I was like, I didn't tell a lot of people, but I think my mom, like my mom and my teacher were like, oh, this is gonna be the thing. And then it didn't work out. And I was like so devastated. And I was like, I can't sing. Um, and then we move on. We move forward. And I after that, that was in 2022. 2024, I taped again in like January or February this year.
Gosh.
I taped the material again. I obviously it was like very traumatizing to revisit this material after the worst callback of my life. So I had to like really talk to like my voice teacher and my voice therapist, like, and my best friend who's my roommate. And they were all like, just don't worry about it, like talk me down. I did the tape. I felt good about it. I did a callback in March. I got a call from my agent at like 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. And they're like, can you come in? They were like, they want you to come in tomorrow. I said, let's do it the next day after because it's too late. So I ended up going in on like a Thursday. And this callback was cool because it was actually in the Gershwin, which never happens
Oh.
anymore. Yeah. It's never like a
Oh.
chorus line vibe where you actually get to go to the theater to audition. You're always at like Ripley Greer or Pearl
Yeah.
Studios. But this was at the Gershwin because there's a rehearsal room in the
Yeah.
Gershwin. So it's easy for them to use. Yeah. And it was super cool. I was like the only person there that day. It was like right before the house was opening. So, like the ushers and everyone were getting set up in the lobby. And I was just kind of like sitting in the mezzanine lobby, which is like just outside of the secret hidden rehearsal room, which you'll never find.
I know where it is. I've been there.
You know where it is. Okay, you know
Yeah.
how like deep in the bowels it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's in the bowels. Yeah.
It's the coolest thing though.
It is. It's really cool. I was like, oh, this is so fun. Like at the very least, this is like a really cool experience to get to do this. And then went into the callback. Um, I thought it went pretty well. I was like, redemption. Even if I don't book this job, like I feel good about this and I know that I could do this. So, it's that good feeling walking out of an in-person audition where you're like, whether or not I get this has nothing to do with my ability to do it. It's just whether or not it's the right time and I'm the right person for them. So I was very at peace when I walked out of the Gershwin. And like in the Gershwin, there's a stairwell called where there's like a painting that says Citizens of Oz, and everyone has their signatures on it who's ever been on Broadway and Wicked. And I was like, let me take a picture in the stairwell because if I book this job,
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cute. And so I took a picture in the stairwell and then I left. And then on it was Thursday, and I think I want to say on Monday,
Ooh.
I got a call and I found out that I got the job. Yeah, so it was really
Pretty
fast.
soon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then
And
how
then my
fast,
whole life changed.
yeah, how fast did you all like prepare to go and step into rehearsals and hit the road?
Hey, that was like the end of March. I was in Memphis, Tennessee on doing rehearsals in April.
Oh
So
my,
it was fast, very fast.
and then you kind of have to like keep it a secret for a while until they release all the press releases.
Yeah. I was trying to do like a going away party and I had texted like a bunch of my friends. I was like, last minute going away party. I booked a thing. I'm leaving for a year. Like, come to my apartment. And then when like half the people when they got there, they had no idea what job I had booked. They were like, wait, can we ask you what you got? And I was like, oh yeah, it's fine now. I could tell you. They were like, that's such a, actor friend thing to do. They're like, where are you going? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
I don't know.
do what can you tell us?
Yeah.
Why is it a mystery?
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. What was the rehearsal process like? Because you joined the cast at the same time as a bunch of other people, like new leads on the
Yes.
tour, which is really cool.
Yeah. This is the first time they've ever done this for the tour. I don't know if they've ever done it on Broadway,
Oh,
but they
been a
hiring all of
while.
us at the same time. They usually stagger it, which
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Because it's a lot to teach.
Oh
They
my
usually
gosh, yeah.
start with the witches and then everyone kind of fills in after. Um, as I'm sure you know, you're a historian, cultural
Ye-
expert.
I got into the university. They sent me an email the other day.
Yeah. Oh, Shiz University. Oh, congratulations.
I
That's
was like,
wonderful.
did it.
Do you know if you're going to study law, logic, or linguification?
Oh, I don't. I don't know if it has that on the email, but
Oh,
I
yeah. I don't
all
know.
of
I
my
didn't get
friends
it.
got into.
That's wonderful.
We all get to be in the same school.
Oh my God, delightful.
I
Right?
know.
Um, wait, what were we talking about? Rehearsals.
Yes.
They were great because we all got to rehearse together. And that usually doesn't happen. That allowed for many things. One of the things that allowed for was us getting to be friends very quickly with each other. It also meant that we got to build our show together. So we really feel like we're telling one cohesive story. And it just made the whole thing easier because I remember the first day we had a rehearsal on stage. We were sort of like working through the show on stage, one act at a time. We were in Hartford at this time.
Ooh.
Um, and it was the first time we were rehearsing with the entire company, and we were just on stage like mic'd, and I have never been so nervous in my life. Like, I think I had a prolonged anxiety attack that entire day where I was just literally freaking out, and I couldn't, like, I was just so overwhelmed. And I was like, is this what it's going to be like the entire year? Because like I can't do this. But there were so many people on stage and we didn't know any of them yet, but we had each other, like our principal company, who we could look at and make eye contact with and be like, oh my God, I know you. I know you in the sea of people. I know what we're here to do.
Thank
Like, I can
God.
do my scene with you. Like Alex, who's my boss, I was like, I can do this, and
Yes.
then leave. And so having that in the beginning stages, that comfort of each other was really, really important before we got to know everyone else. Um, Not, and the ensemble was like so supportive, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was very comforting to rehearse all together. And it's like, I think it was like 3 weeks total um that we had rehearsal time, and then we do our put in on, I think we did our put in on a Thursday, which was special because I had to fly back to Hawaii for my sister's wedding that weekend,
Oh,
and then I flew back to the East Coast, and then we opened on Tuesday night.
oh my gosh. Big week.
It was a big week for my parents.
Oh my God. Were they traveling everywhere? Like go
My dad, he originally, the plan was like, no one's gonna go see Erica's first show because it's gonna be too hectic. And like, my sister got married on an outer island, so like, they were it was sort of like a mini destination wedding, so there was a lot to coordinate. And like,
yeah,
it's like producing an event. They
it
had to
is.
take care of everything and make sure all the family members got off to the right locations. And but my dad was like, what are you talking about? No one's gonna be at Erica's first show. That's unacceptable. So he came by himself, all the
Oh,
way to Connecticut to be there for opening night.
oh, that's
I
so
know.
sweet.
Yeah.
And yeah, weddings are hard. So like
Yes.
respect.
Yes.
Respect.
Yes.
And to you, like for doing all that. Because I'm sure since it was your sister's wedding, like you were
Yeah.
involved in the planning.
I was officiating the wedding, so I had to be there. Like, it was at the point where, at the late stage that I booked this job, if I wasn't there for the wedding, it would have thrown a wrench into the event. So I
Yeah.
had to be there. So my wonderful agent coordinated getting me those days off. And like, wonderful company management was like, yeah, make sure Erica can be there for her sister's wedding.
Yes.
Like, it's important. So it worked out.
Yes. Love that. Love that the Wicked team did that for you.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, how do you think that you're like Nessarose, and how do you think you're different from her? I love
No, I'm sure, as you know, there's only so much I'm allowed to say, PR wise, about
Yeah.
Nessa and about the show. Um, so my careful answer is that she's a little sister. I'm the youngest in my family. I have two older sisters, and they both got to see the show here in San Fran, and they were like, they're used to seeing me play like the bird in Aladdin in middle school, or like something like
Whoa.
Madame Thenardier in Les Mis in high school. Like they're not used to me not doing outrageous things, but they were both just like, wow, it's like really cool to see you do something that's like, it's kind of just like you're being yourself. Like, it's so believable. To which I was like, am I supposed to be insulted by that?
You're like, wait,
Wait a second. Which act though?
right?
But yeah, I think it's very natural and normal for me to just play the little sister. Um, that's felt very easy in that sense. I think that Nessa just wants to be loved.
Yes.
She just wants to I think she wants to feel chosen, you know, and she is very afraid of being alone
Yes.
for many reasons, you know, some of which are valid, some of which maybe are not valid. But she's really afraid of being alone. And when she finds what she feels is love, she just doesn't want to let it go, you know? And
Yeah.
I hate being alone. So I understand that. Like that there's a moment in the show where I'm hunched over the table, like the makeup table with Elphaba, and there's a moment of like um I guess you call it like improv. No one can hear these lines, right? Because their mics are off. But like, there's a moment where it's just the two of us, and sometimes like you'll see like Elphaba will like hug Nessa, or like they'll be like talking or whatever. And Lauren, who's my Elphaba, we always have like a dialogue in that moment. And lately, the dialogue has been like me being like, I love him, but I love him, but I love him, and her being like, you're beautiful, like don't worry about it. And that dialogue, like, it makes me cry every time because I feel like for all the extremes and the nutso-ness, you know, and the magic and everything that's happening, like she just feels that she is in love and she doesn't understand why it's not normal for her. And that's something anyone can relate to. And I felt that a lot this year of my life. And so it's been great to get to experience like the range of emotion that she experiences in the show every day.
Yes. It do How much freedom
Mhm.
do you have since Wicked is such a long running show? How much freedom do you have in the show to like kind of go about making Nessa your own and like putting your own spin?
It's like maybe less freedom than you would think. Like it is pretty things as far as the technical aspects of the show are very set. Like you have to be standing exactly where you have to be standing because the lights are going to be there and you need to be in the light. Like stuff like our physical movement is very specific. The blocking of the show is very specific. The timing of a lot of things is really specific because especially this a lot of the stuff I do in the show is like completely timed with music. Um, but outside of that is where there's like playroom
Y-
to
Yes.
explore.
And
Yeah.
has your family noticed? Did your family notice right away that you're in the first like opening scene?
I think my mom saw me right away, but she was the only one.
I always bring that up because it took me years to notice that
Yeah.
and Piero are in the opening number. And I was like,
And Dr. Dillamond.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I finally noticed and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was
It's fun. I'm really glad I get to do that.
mind blown.
Yeah, it's silly because you get to be like play another character for a second, but you also get to see everybody at the start of the show, which it makes a huge difference when like you know, like sometimes our wizard, like he'll come out just to like say hi to everybody, you know, like and stand on stage before the show starts because otherwise he doesn't get to see everyone in the show. So it's nice to just get that time to be on stage with pretty much everybody and hang out and chit chat before the curtain goes up.
Yeah. And it's like such an intense scene right off the bat too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's a big sing right off the bat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that too.
It's a very high number.
Oh yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. What's your favorite song in Wicked personally?
It changes, you know, but I think like the most incredible like iconic number is Elikanamenamenatunatum. We call it Elikanamen. That's not the name of the number. But yeah, No Good Deed, I think
Yes.
is it's you know, it's a big turning point for her and it's a big emotional moment for her. And it's also like I when I got to see the show, we get to like watch it once when you're in rehearsals. I got to see it in Memphis and I got to see Laurel Harris do it, which was so awesome because
Oh my
she's so
God.
iconic.
Yes.
Um and I was like, oh my God. It's suddenly, all of a sudden, we're in like a rock concert. Like the lights go crazy and you can like, you know, the wind is blowing and everything just like looks so cool. And the song is going off and the electric guitars are going crazy. Um, so yeah, I love that number.
Oh my God.
Um, but my
Yeah.
sneaky favorite is always Wonderful.
Oh my God. The choreo in that song though.
The choreo is sweet. And it is like ever since I was a kid, when I was like listening to the Wicked soundtrack as a kid, in my and when we were in the dance class, I was like, this is the point of the show, you guys. Like this whole like whoever wins determines history thing, and like it's all a lie. Like this is kind of the whole point. It's like the wizard is like a really important and deep character, guys. Um, and I still think it's amazing how much the critique of the like social critique of the show is all in that one song.
It is.
And the fact that Elphaba is literally about to go with him, like she is going to she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it
Like,
until she sees Dr. Dilliman. Yeah, like I think it's a really interesting turning point in the show.
yes.
Yeah.
Because it like shows that at the end when she sees Dr. Dunlin, it like shows like what she is really about. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Where
That
the
she,
line is for her.
oh yeah. That there is a line
Mm-hmm.
that she won't
Yeah.
cross. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
also the Nessa song that's not on the album. Like that is it's just there should be a recording of that somewhere sometime that's like
Mm-hmm.
this like someone from the stage version doing it because I know that maybe there will be for the movie.
Oh yeah, but it'll be in the second movie, so we have to wait
Yeah.
such a long time to see it. But I'm really, really excited to see how they rewrite that scene. Really
Yes.
excited. Yeah.
Yes. I read something about it. So I was like,
Oh,
"Ooh,
that's
I wonder
great.
what they're gonna do."
Mm-hmm.
Um, speaking of that, how do you think you're gonna be on tour when the Wicked movie comes out? So how exciting is that for you? And how do you think that's gonna like affect the people who come to see the show? Because it might bring new fans in.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. We're gonna be in Seattle when the movie comes out. There's talk of us maybe getting like a screening, which would be really fun. Um, if the premiere's in New York, which I kind of think it's going to be, I hope that
I think
the Broadway company gets to go.
oh, I think it would be in New York maybe. Or
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that would be really special. Whoever, like, if it's in New York, they better let the Broadway company go to the premiere. Um, I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie just like as a fan, like, and a person who loves to see movie musicals and is just very passionate about adaptation. And so I love to see what gets changed, what gets added, removed, etc. Um, and I'm a huge fan of John M. Chu, from a young
Yes,
age. So I'm excited to see what
yes.
he does. And I think it'll be really great. Like one of the best parts about being in Wicked is it's a story for all ages, but it is because it's such a popular musical, a lot of families will come to it. Um, and a lot of young people, it's like their first show. And so it's really great to greet
I
people at the stage door who are like little girls or little boys or just like kids in general who are like, this is my first show. That's really special. And I think that the movie will increase that. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it maybe has already. I don't know because I haven't seen, but like the trailers, have they like increased the number of people who come to see the show?
Oh goodness. I don't know anything from the business side of things, but I know that, it's a success. We're on a great tour and it's
Yeah,
it's it's not showing any signs of, you know, closing
never.
anytime soon. So
Mm-mm.
I hope that numbers are good.
Yes. And speaking of that, how would you convince people to come see this current cast of Wicked on the national tour? Because
Oh, you
Austin,
should come. They're so
Austin made a
fun.
great speech last week and like said like this cast is like is kind of like different than the normal cast you see in this show, which is really cool.
hmm
But how
Wait,
would
did you
you
say Austin?
yeah.
Okay. Well, Austin is very eloquent. I can't say anything Austin can't. Um,
Well, you're you, so yeah, say what's on your mind.
this is in all like I think our show is good. Which, I selfishly and like from the inside, I think our show is really great. But I also like just from a logistical standpoint, this is the first time where people have our entire principal company has gone and all together. It does make a difference as far as how we tell the story. So if you're someone who has seen Wicked a million times, like I think it'd be really cool to go in and see Wicked knowing that this rehearsal process was different and being able to see like, oh, does it feel different? Does it feel like cohesive in a way that is new to me or what? Like, I think that would be a fun experiment. If you're an avid Wicked fan. And if you've never seen Wicked and you're debating coming to see it for the first time, you should come see how the story ends because the movie's only the first half. So you can
Yes.
figure out the whole story.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And oh my, I'm not gonna say anything. I was gonna say something about the end, but about like the
Good for
reaction
you.
at
Good
the
for
end.
you.
But I'm gonna be quiet.
Yes.
So
Great PR training.
if if someone's not listening, if someone's listening that hasn't seen it, so
Exactly.
what city are you most looking forward to touring? Because the
It
schedule
was
is insane that it's coming
Oh
up.
yeah, we're on a great schedule. I mean, we're in San Fran right now, and I was really, really excited to come to San Fran because my best friend lives here, who's also my podcast
Oh,
co-host.
oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so we've just been hanging out and like I've always wanted to live here. When I was in college, I like flew out here to see the Hamilton company because we had some friends in it. And
And they have
I, yeah, I've always wanted to live in San Francisco. And so in college, I was like, oh my God, like I'm totally like, I'm going to book the San Fran Hamilton company. And like, that's going to be my opportunity to live in San Francisco because I'm not a software engineer. So otherwise, I'm never going to live here. And then the pandemic happened and yada, yada, that ended. But it just feels like another like sort of full circle moment to be performing in the Orpheum where Hamilton was sitting and where I wanted to be, like in such a pipe dream kind of way. This is just such a special place. I love the Bay Area and it's so awesome to just like spend time here and to get to be here for work is so great. And I'm sad it's already like almost time to go.
gosh, it flies. Even like the long sit downs.
Yeah.
Kind of pun
Yeah,
intended.
absolutely. And yeah, right?
Kind of pun intended. So, speaking of your podcast, can you talk a little about your podcast? It's Percy Jackson themed based on what I saw, and you actually did get to interview
Yes.
the new cast of the show.
Yes,
So,
I wish like you started a podcast in 2008. And I'm like never stopped. But it was about Percy Jackson.
oh,
Oh,
it
am I frozen?
yeah, you kind of froze there for a little bit. So wait, let's see if it works. I think it's good now. Coming back.
I'm back.
I jinxed it.
No, come on, hotspot.
Let's go Wi-Fi.
Yeah, let me know when I'm appearing
Okay,
clear.
I can. Yeah, you're like kind of getting back. Okay, now you're. Yeah, I think you're good now.
More or less.
Yeah.
I'll
Almost.
okay. I'll give my spiel quickly. It'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Um, I started a podcast about Percy Jackson in 2020 with my childhood best friend when we were in our childhood bedrooms, sent home from college during the pandemic. And we reread the books. We thought they were absolutely incredible, even better than we remembered. We were like, we should talk about it, particularly about the incredible love story between Percy and Annabeth, which spans time and is the greatest story I've told. So we started a podcast, talked a lot about Percybeth, just continue talking about the books, knowing that there was a TV adaptation coming out and we could talk about the TV show when it came out. And that eventually happened. We continued doing the podcast for so long. We eventually got invited to the premiere of the show, which is really special. And we got to know the creative team and a lot of the cast through that event and through doing interviews. And it's just been an overall fantastic experience. We still do the podcast every single week. There's a new Percy Jackson book out right now, which we're talking about. And then we'll get to talk about season 2 when season 2 of the show drops. So it's the best thing. It's so fun. It's taken over my life in many ways. And I'm really grateful as an actor to have a creative project that I can work on that's my own, and that I don't have to wait for somebody to give me an opportunity to be creative or flex those muscles. I can do it on my own time, which is great.
Yes. And I'm gonna put the link to it in the description of the video so people can check it
I always
out.
wanted to do that.
subscribe. Yes. And I also did follow it. So I'm excited to listen to every episode of it. Yay. So real quick, I want to ask, what are your dream roles?
He um that's such a good question. Mysterious Heather's revival that may or may not be happening in New York
Ooh,
City. I would like to participate in that. I don't care as what. I just want to do Heather's. I love Heather's.
yes.
Yeah, I want to be in Heather's. And so yeah, fingers crossed that that production is real.
Hey,
And
I feel like there's demand
I
for it.
yeah, no, literally, I'm the demand. I demand that it comes. I like, I don't at this. I was telling, we were doing like manifestations yesterday, and I was like, you guys, I don't even need to be in Heather's. I just want to live in a world where Heather's is currently running in New York City. Like, I demand that culturally. It's important. Yeah. I would do the Heather's, and then I would do kill to do anything in Hades Town.
Oh,
At any
yes.
point. Like I
Yeah.
hope that I can do like a million regional productions of Hadestown for the rest of my life.
My God. Yes.
It's just the greatest thing ever, and it never gets old. And I think it's stunning and beautiful and important, and it means so much to me as it does to so many people. And it would be great, yeah. Like I'm such a fan of the show. It would be great to participate in creating it for other people at some point in my life.
And the casting continues to be top tier. So, man.
Yes, shout out to Micah, my friend Micah, who casts
Oh,
down. Job.
so good. So good. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how can they how are they keeping up with this?
Yeah. Hmm.
Manifesting
Absolutely.
that because I love Hades Town. And
Also
I would
shout out they also shout out to my friend Brian, who is going to be playing Orpheus in the new tour that's going out. Everybody should
oh,
go see the tour.
I think it's
And
coming
see
back
Brian.
at some point.
Oh, that would
I
be
think
great.
it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's coming back to LA. So,
They're going to Mexico um
ooh.
with this company. So that's
Oh,
exciting.
they could bring it to
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So, how do you work on self-confidence in this industry?
What?
You're like, not
um, I don't. Just a steaming pile of insecurities. That's really hard. Famous Brent Wagner quote is you can't move forward if you're looking sideways. So I think that takes care of half of it, which is like you can't compare yourself to other people. But obviously, we all know it's easy to be insecure in your own bubble. You don't even have to compare yourself to other people. You can just be insecure, period. So um yeah, I think that I used to get so mad when people would say this to me in college that like some things just take time. I'd be like, well, how do I fix it now? You know? But I think this
I'm
is one of those things.
impatient.
I'm impatient. I think that's just one of those things that like it takes time. Like if you I definitely was very insecure as a kid. And in some ways that's universal. You know, I think there's a spectrum. I was definitely very far on the like lacking in confidence spectrum growing up. And so I think it just takes time to mature and settle into yourself and realize like especially if you're in this industry that you're the only one of you, you know, and even if somebody looks like you or goes in for similar roles as you, like um they are not you at the end of the day. Everybody has a unique perspective to bring and everybody is a unique person. And if you had told me that when I was like 15, I would be like, okay, shut up. Like that's stupid. You know, like
That's a cliche answer.
that's dumb. But now it does, it's I'm 25 and it just takes time to like recognize that like to get your brain developed and to know that like you're a unique person who is has value in your life in every situation, not just professionally, but like you bring value to your friendships, you bring value to your family, like your hobbies, like um I think developing your whole life outside of just, you know, whatever your tunnel vision career aspirations are since you've been 10 years old, like that helps you feel like a person. And then once you feel like a person, you're like, oh yeah, every person is unique. Why was I so insecure when I was 15? Who even knows?
Feel like I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard, but like I think it's one of those things like you can't rush it. And like I used to get into fights like with my mom about this, where she'd be like, "You need to have more self-confidence." And I would be like, um, so, so like truly like, and I don't know that I particularly did anything in the last decade of my life to increase my own self-confidence, but like I think it just happens with time. Like just focus on, you know, pouring yourself into the things that you're passionate about, hobby wise as well as your career, and like focus on your friendships and like, you know, making sure that you give love and you receive it and you have, you know, boundaries for yourself and expectations for yourself, and like everything will work out. And one day you'll wake up and be like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Everyone's on their own journey. And
Yeah,
like,
I feel like that's terrible advice, but maybe that's just me
no,
being insecure about my advice.
but yes, I think that's you being insecure about your advice for sure. But like like it's great advice.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own journey. So
Yeah.
and
It just takes time.
we all realize at different points in our life.
Yeah. 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 It'll click for you one day. You just
Yes,
have to keep experiencing love and joy in the meantime.
key. That's key.
Yeah.
So, where can people follow you on social media to keep up with what you're doing and to keep up with your journeys on the Wicked tour?
Yeah. I've been posting a lot lately because tour is just so exciting. You know, like I used to be like a very infrequent poster, but now I'm like photo dump, photo dump. Um, my Instagram is Erica Ito with like an underscore. Um, and then you can follow my podcast at Seaweed Brain Podcast on Instagram, at Seaweed Brain Pod on Twitter. You can listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. Even if that's YouTube, you can also find us on YouTube. Um, yeah, I'm more passionate about you following my podcast than you following my Instagram. So go follow the podcast.
All the links will be in the description. And
Smash that subscribe button.
yes. And do you have anything else that you'd want to promote? I know you do like YouTube live streams and stuff, which is really cool.
Ooh, that's a great question. Podcast is a big thing. Go see Wicked. Go see local theater productions wherever you are. Support your community theaters.
Love.
Um, yeah, make sure you register to vote. That's all I got to say.
Yes, love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk today.
Thank
And
you.
I had a blast talking with you, and I can't wait to listen to your podcast. And I will let
uh,
you know when this is up
Thank
online.
you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to like reflect on my whole life. It's very special.
Of course, of course. I can't wait to see the tour coming up in LA.
Oh yeah, we'll get to see you in LA.
Yeah,
That's
I'm very
wonderful. Okay,
excited.
I look forward to it.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.